What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta, and today we're doing a deck profile for premium on Cardfight BladeMaster. So this is one of the decks that I have been playing for a very long time and I still love playing it. And I thought, why not do a deck profile for you guys to show you the deck that I play. And with time, there are a lot of different decks that I still play, like Dark Reckless, Charlotte, BladeMaster, G-eara, and Nubitama Dominate. And with the upcoming supports for Dark Reckless and Nubas, I will also do deck profiles for you guys. G-eara will have to wait till the Raging Tactics, but now I could do BladeMaster. So yeah, let's just go through it. So first I will go through the deck, then I'll come back and explain why I chose to put some cards in here. For the grade 3 lineup, we start with 4 copies of the V BladeMaster. It has BladeMaster in the name, it has the first ability, which is good if you go first, and still it gives a marker. That's the most important things why to run this card. Then we run 2 of the old BladeMaster Cohen. The thing with this card, it's really good to keep striding for free if you get him back, but it only works if having him in the drop zone. So you could play 2 copies of him. He is also good to give you more retirement power, but usually you need at least 1 marker, which would be forced to in the most situations. So that's why you play the old one. And to add to the deck, which is a very good Vanguard and a good Vanguard, is the Dragonic Overlord. I'm playing 3 copies of him in here. Again, very good Vanguard, and still helps a lot in the matchup. Also, when we go through the G-Guardians, you will see why this card, also you run him at 3. It's, in my opinion, the best first right target to go into. If you go first, you could put a lot of pressure on your opponent, and I play all 3 versions. I don't play the one from the US. This one is a gift from Sparkles, so we'll always play him in the Kagero decks. Alright, for the grade 2 lineup, this is something that I changed. The first lineup looked like this. So we have 3 copies of Berserk Dragon. Very good, very important. Gives you a lot of advantage in the early game. Take out irritating starters from your opponent. Then we run 3 copies of Mugdi. I find 3 enough. And 3 copies of Yasser. Then the card that I originally played to add to my grade 2 lineup is 2 of these. These are very good. What they does is once per turn, whenever your Vanguard retires something from your opponent, you Soul Blast 2 and you call a grade 1 back. And because your grade 1s could countercharge, because your grade 1s could go into the soul draw you cards, it's really good to play them. But I find them strange in the way that the timing they activate, because mostly when you retire with him, they're not on the field and you don't have any other ways to retire with your Vanguard. If you play them with cards that retire when you want to, like Ziegenberg, then they are good. But with testing, I took them out and I added something else in here, which are the 2 copies of Doa. This card is actually better than I expected it to be. It's just irritating for your opponent to guard against, and I don't play the grade 1, which works with the combo, which people would say, well, why not? Because I don't have space, but I'm thinking about running 1 or 2 into the deck just because to complete the combo and to make BladeMaster first turn even better. If you don't know what Yasser does and Mufti, I will just go back and explain the cards in a minute. For the grade 1 lineup, we run 2 grade 1 PG, the one that when you write they have the ability. It's the best one that you could run if you're running only 2. If you run more, then you have a lot of different options that you could go into. 3 copies, I mean 4 even Strifefallers, because they are important to get you the right BladeMaster to your hand. That's why you run him at 4. Then your main countercharge engine in the deck still is, in my opinion, Nidal. If you're playing BladeMaster, you can go with this card. If you're not playing BladeMaster, then you have to go with Eremos or any other expensive card. But yeah, why would you? You have Nidal, which works amazing. And again, another card that haven't really seen a lot of plays is the Energy Flame. Energy Flame has the ability which goes into the soul and you countercharge 2, which works anytime you retire an opponent Vanguard. So in my opinion, it's better. It's a countercharge 2, so it's better than all the other grade 1 countercharges that we have. But yeah, of course, he's only a 7k and he has a 5k shield, but that's not his purpose. His purpose is not to guard, so yeah. For the grade 0s, as you see, because we already run 2 grade 1 PG, so we run only 2 draw PGs. Then we add the 4 heals, very important in Kagero. Your G guards are very good defense, and from that moment on we run a lot of crits because you want to crit your opponent to death, and because you have a resetting Vanguard. So having force 2 on the Vanguard and having the ability to drive check 1 or 2 crits is just too much for your opponent to handle the whole match. They have to like go PG, PG, PG. When you play against Protect Cleanse, then you will mostly give your Protect markers also to your Vanguard at one point, just to be able to poke them, and they will have to guard a lot. For the Stride deck, we run 3 copies of the Domjit Stride. Even if you don't have a counterblast, he's good for a Stride. He just has the pressure that your opponent have to guard him with a PG or a G guard, and he restands. Then the 4 copies of Ziegenberg, you can flip him with the Domjit, but mostly he's also very good. The retirement power is nice, and he has the restand ability if your opponent will not, even if they do not use a G guard or a PG. Then I run 1 the Purge because you play Overlords, and you could always flip him if you want to, but it's a very good card, especially it doesn't cost counterblast and still has a lot of drive checks if you play him the right way. Then I run 1 Drachma and 1 of the, so 1 of each is good. I know that a lot of people are a big fan of this card. I'm less of a big fan, but sometimes it comes in handy. Especially if you do not play the old BladeMaster. If you go to the new one, then he's good, very good actually. And Drachma sometimes do punish your opponent, and even if you lose your G-zone, this deck could work without that, so it's still good. Then for the G-guards, we run a bunch of G-guards, as you see. We start with 2 copies of Abu Salam. He's a very good G-guard, gives you a lot of power if your opponent does not put Vanguards out there. Then we add 1 of the Defeat Flare, and this is the reason why you play Overlords. He is good in some matchups that you could just take out the back row. They will not expect him, that's what makes him even better. Then we play only 2 chickens. Chicken is good. Chicken is always hungry and angry and eats people in the Vanguards. And then we play the big ass chicken, which the 2 of them could make a very nice combination to take out some irritating Vanguards that you want to take out. Alright, so I think that the extra deck is self-explanatory. Also the triggers are good to understand. The thing is, when we go to the starters, you have 2 options that you could use from. While playing this deck, and you also play Berserk Dragon, I do not advise you to play Lizard Soldier Conro. I do advise you just play Undux. He's good to just give you the draw power and give you the soul, and that's all you need. So it really depends on how much counterblasters you use. I do not use Conro just because of that, but if you take out the Berserk Dragons, then you could play Conro, and it's just another target for your opponent to retire, to get rid of, or to lock or anything. And with having him, there is no need to. But again, you could change the deck the way that you wanted to. For the grade 1 lineup, I chose to go with him because he's a countercharge 2 and fill up the soul. So in my opinion, the best countercharger that we could play in Kagero. Some people will not agree with me. Some people would say, well, I would rather play the one that has the hit pressure when you ride into it and also just give you the draw power, or they do play Ermos, and Ermos give you the counter charge and the draw, which is in the most situations better because you have the draw. But in this deck you already draw a lot for a counterblast, so it is almost the same. And also this is a cheaper version, so because this is not my main deck, this is good enough and maybe even better than the Ermos. Okay, because we have more counter chargers, you only need a BladeMaster for him, and he also gets a little bit power. The 4K make him 11K, the 11K boosting something would make sometimes a very nice numbers, especially if you combine him with cards that already gets power like him, Mubti, or even the Berserk Dragon would only get an extra 3K. This would still make the 24, 34 columns, which is perfect to hit the opponent Vanguard, and again give you the counter charge, so it's always good. The stride folder we do not have to explain, and the PG is the same. Alright, for the grade 2, and this is when things get interesting, by having the Berserk Dragon in this deck, you have the ability to retire your opponent's Vanguards in the early game. This is the only card that you run in this deck that does give you that retirement power, which is very, very, very good. Sometimes you want to just take out one of your opponent's Vanguards in the early game, or their starter or anything. And riding into him, having the counterblast, that's why you do not use Conroe, is just nice, just to get you that extra draw, even if your opponent does not have a Vanguard. Then we have Mubti. Mubti has the ability that you, GB2, you need a BladeMaster Vanguard, you counterblast 1, and then you draw a card, and then he gets an extra 2K for every open Vanguard circle your opponent has. So he potentially could get an extra 10K, make him a 19, a very nice number, and it could hit anything. If your opponent has like only 4 open Vanguard circles, then he becomes 17 and still hit the right numbers if you're playing against Excel and Protect. But most importantly, he draw you a card. And then we have Yasser, one of my personal favorites. A lot of people took him out of the deck, but I still like him. When he attacks at the end of the battle, or actually you Soul Blast when he gets an extra 5K, your opponent cannot intercept. At the end of the battle, he takes out the whole column, including himself, the Vanguard behind him, everything, the whole column, your opponent's Vanguards. So he could work around your opponent having Vanguards with resists, Vanguards that you cannot target, and that's why he's very good. Also, he just take out himself, which is nice if you play against decks like Link Joker, which you do not want them to lock everything in your front row, so you only have a Vanguard attack. And yeah, you know what this card does. Again, I'm thinking about putting the grade 1 in here. Sometimes it works, but again, putting only 1 or 2, in my opinion, is not good enough. Maybe if I take out the grade 1 PGs, then he will be in here. But again, I love having so much crits in the deck. And that's actually it. The rest is pretty much self-explanatory. You have your Dragonic Overlord, which put a lot of pressure as Vanguard and even Vanguard, because he's a very strong Vanguard. And you have your BladeMasters for the marker, and mostly if you go into him first, your opponent is playing against a deck that could retire a lot, so if they do not go in there and put some Vanguards out there, he will punish them, especially by having that extra 5K in a crit. And if you already go for like Force 2, then that's 3 crits that go in your opponent's face, and they need to guard that. That was actually it for this deck profile. I hope that you enjoyed it, and tell me what you want to see next. I think on the list I will try to put Dark Irregulars next, like Charlotte, and then do some others, and then go back to show you another different Dark Irregular build. For me, the deck that I like to play the most is the Charlotte deck, actually. So it's the yeah, it's a deck that I really enjoy, and it runs actually pretty much around having a combination of him as a Vanguard, and also of course the other Charlotte as your Vanguards. And by having cards like these, you could always go for your Gastille Stride and then use them with the No Life King, and with that you kind of plus and then do the combo and then come back to him and then master the 5th element or whatever. And by having Vanguard like these, your opponent would have hard time to guard them with the power that they have, and your opponent cannot use grade zeros. So that's actually the deck. I enjoy playing it a lot, and if you want to, I could do a deck profile on that as well. But I wanted to also get the new support. I don't have it yet. I will be getting it this week, and with that I could show you the deck a little bit upgraded. But again, it's only a Charlotte deck, and with time I will also show you another Dark Irregular decks if you want to. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time.